Today, the only payroll software your accounting firm should be using to serve clients. Oh, payroll software? Boo! Is this guy really running a Monday episode of his podcast about payroll software? Does he want anybody to listen to his podcast? Okay, I know. Listen, it's not sexy, but it's an important decision. And it's hard because I racked up a list of 18 different options here. 18 payroll software payroll softwares enter. Only 6 will remain as potential options for you. Let's talk about it. Payroll software. Okay, today's recommendations are from my big ol' fat app database. It's over 100 apps for accounting firms, whether I recommend them, whether I don't, and most importantly, why. And if there is one service I can provide to you, firm-running friend, it is to be the filter of all the firms that I talk about. Talk with. Because boy, do I hear some things. And every time we do an episode like this is a great example. We're going to talk about payroll software today. People are going to drop helpful things in the comments that will then inform my recommendations. And so this resource, which you can grab down in the show notes, this resource is the the collection and the synthesization of all of those things that I hear into as concise of a resource as possible for you, because the wrong person to listen to when you're making your next tech decision is your software rep. Dadoy, they're just trying to sell you more software. You can keep your muffin baskets, big boy. I got a better way to choose. Actually, keep the muffin baskets coming. Food is just about the fastest way to any accountant's soul. Okay, 18 payroll solutions. Let me actually just run through them. Give you the whole list. Sure Payroll, QuickBooks Payroll Premium, QuickBooks Payroll Elite, Paychex Flex Pro, Paychex Flex, Oasis MyPay Solutions, Accounting CS Payroll, QuickBooks Payroll Core, Patriot Payroll, JustWorks Payroll, ADP Run for Partners, Rippling PEO, Rippling OnPay, JustWorks PEO, Gusto, ADP Refer and Earn. It's just a lot. As with all things in accounting firm software, it's a lot. If you didn't know, certain software categories absolutely love accounting firms because we're very unique in that we can get bought on like a software platform and then sell it to hundreds of clients. Like there's very few types of businesses that work this way. And it's why software companies love to go after accounting firms. And goodness sakes, don't they go after you? Like the amount of inbound we get from software companies, it's a lot. Also increasingly unscrupulous. Some of these companies will literally like scrape lists of my followers and be like, hey, did you see that Jason said this good thing about our software platform? And if you get emails like that, I'm sorry. And if you send emails like that, stop it. Okay, we're talking about payroll software. Let me start out with the stinkers, the stuff to just not even bother touching, okay? First up, Accounting CS Payroll by your friend Thomson Reuters. This is a payroll offering that surely is nearing end of life. Thomson Reuters, they're shutting down, in the process of shutting down File Cabinet right now. In fact, the next one I don't recommend, MyPay Solutions. It's owned by Iris, who's been acquiring all sorts of stuff. But Iris acquired MyPay from Thomson Reuters in 2022. MyPay is like a full done-for-you service. Basically, you refer the work to MyPay, and the client just interfaces with the product and the people from MyPay. So MyPay Solutions, I don't recommend that one because there's better solutions for just referring the whole thing out. Whereas the previous option, Accounting CS Payroll from Thomson Reuters, it is a desktop payroll platform. It's from Thomson Reuters. Like there's just 100 better ways to get the same thing done. Next one I'm not touching, Oasis by Paychex. Oasis is their mid-market solution. It's a past acquisition that Paychex did. When I say mid-market solution, I mean it handles like multi-entity, handles benefits across all of that stuff. I actually had some big client groups that I use this with in practice, and boy, do I got stories. But I'll just tell you today, Oasis, it's not the move. We've got much better solutions now than we had 5 years ago for like this same client situation. Next, Paychex Flex. This is Paychex's like full service online offering. That is, they handle the deposits and the payments and the filings. Most of us have a pretty good collection of Paychex horror stories, right? I think the reason they're still around is the muffin baskets. It's something that others could take notes on. But Paychex, for me, they're like cloud payroll product. It's just sitting in a category with other solutions that are better. And it's as simple as that. Next, Paychex Flex Pro. It is a done-for-you service that you can refer clients to. This one I've heard just anecdotally a lot of negative experiences about. And so I think there's better done-for-you options. 3 more to go here. Same for this one, Payroll Elite and Payroll Premium. They're just, what you pay isn't worth it. So QuickBooks, Intuit in general, they have been just on a massive killing spree, killing off all of their payroll products to send everyone to QuickBooks Online. So going forward, the only options you really have are 3 tiers, 3 flavors of QuickBooks Online payroll: Core, Elite, and Premium. Take a look for yourself, but the features at Elite and at Premium to me just are not worth it. I'm only going to use Core maybe. And so both Elite and Premium, they're both on my don't recommend list. They come with like HR stuff, things that are just much better and much less expensively found elsewhere if you even need them. I'm convinced these payroll offerings are really just for like small business owners that are rocking up directly to QuickBooks and just don't understand the ecosystem. But for you, you do. You're here. We're learning together. So I don't recommend touching either of those. Last, SurePayroll. SurePayroll was a 2011 acquisition by Paychex. 5 to 7 years ago, SurePayroll was pretty cool. In fact, there was a time, this was maybe 6 or 7 years ago, where I was moving all of my payroll clients, and I was well over 100 payroll clients. We were moving all of them to a single payroll platform. We're like, we're going to do this in a better way. And that was a project, buddy. And it came down to either SurePayroll or Gusto. And this was very early days Gusto, shortly after they'd rebranded from Zen Payroll. And you know what ended up being the difference maker is I got a slide deck from the people at SurePayroll that was like kind of right at the finish line where basically we'd gotten the best offers from both. And the last slide deck we got from the team at SurePayroll that was kind of walking through the whole thing was so unbelievably littered with like typos and grammar that didn't make any sense and sentences that you couldn't even read that I'm like, we've gone through this like 3 or 4 month process with them and it's coming down to the wire. And this is it. This is the level of effort. Like I would be mortified if they ever put something in front of my client that looked like this. Isn't that wild that it just came down to that? Now, since then, Gusto did one of these for the audio listeners. My hand is shooting in an upward direction. Gusto has grown like crazy since then. SurePayroll, when's the last time you've heard about them? I mean, we talk a lot about acquisitions on this podcast and how I'm quite dour of any company that goes through an acquisition. Recent examples being Dext being acquired by Iris. We just talked about MyPay Solutions, a done-for-you payroll solution that was acquired by Iris. Heard anything about that the last couple of years? Probably not. SafeSend, the most recent example. Thomson Reuters acquired that. Before that, they acquired SurePrep. And honestly, we haven't seen anything interesting out of SurePrep since then. But SurePayroll, acquired by Paychex, not a super progressive company. And like they bought it and it kind of is what it is. Compare SurePayroll, where like 6 or 7 years ago, I was on the fence. Like they were really neck and neck, that platform versus the Gusto platform. SurePayroll like lets you do more like white labeling stuff. And so it actually had some things going for it. And since then, you could have not had 2 more opposite trajectories, where Gusto has not been acquired by anybody versus SurePayroll, which at the time was owned by Paychex, which in some ways was like a stamp of legitimacy, right? Like that was what my kind of legacy partners would have said. But the 2 trajectories since then have been could not have been more different. Okay, so those are the ones to steer clear of. Those 8 platforms. We're going to move up to the good enough category. And my good enough category, it has 4 platforms in it. And when I say good enough, what I mean is it's fine if you already got people on it. It may not be worth the squeeze to move them to something better, but it also might. My don't recommends are like I actively recommend you take it to something else as soon as you can. My good enoughs are like, there's better options, but the juice won't always be worth the squeeze to take it somewhere else. 4 options in this category. Number 1, ADP Run for Partners. This is their like kind of ADP's version of like a Gusto, where you go in and you run the payroll and all that. Maybe it's fine if you're trying to keep everything in the ADP ecosystem. The reality is there's just other people that do this better than ADP now. Second option, JustWorks Payroll. So JustWorks started out as a PEO company. We're going to actually talk quite a bit more about PEOs, but eventually they launched just a standalone payroll offering. But same thing here. It's not as polished as the experience that you get from the leaders in this category, and they don't support as many types of payroll either. So that one's, for me, it's a good enough where maybe if you're trying to do, like if you got a bunch of folks on JustWorks PEO and you want to add a few that are payroll only, sure, maybe that's an argument for keeping everything on JustWorks. Otherwise, there's better platforms for the same thing. Next in my good enough category, Patriot Payroll. Similarly, this is a fully cloud-based thing. Like Patriot, like it's not terrible, but why I actually have them on this list, because there's much better cloud-based payroll systems, is at Payroll's basic tier, you do your own filings. And that's kind of gone out of style with the current crop of payroll tools, right? All the kind of done-for-you automated filings. The reality is, in certain situations, some platforms will totally bungle that stuff. And it's caused many accountants to try to reel that back in and be like, I can't trust these platforms. Like, that's a really hard long-term bet to make that they're forever going to do that stuff wrong. I don't know that we want to get into the business of doing our own filings. But today, if you want to, if that feels like the right answer for you, Patriot Payroll on their basic tier, it gives you a cloud payroll platform where you do your own quarterly filings. That's actually very unique. I say quarterly, I'm pretty sure year-end filings as well you can DIY. Today's episode is brought to you in part by TeamUp, who helps you directly hire talented accountants in the Philippines. But did you know that they can also help you hire an assistant? I feel like we just did an episode not that long ago. We did, about why you should have an assistant. Because if you want your team to learn the skill of delegation, buddy, all that learning, that starts at the top. And I know, I'm not the type of person that needs an assistant, like it's like giving up. Gang, here's the thing. You're gonna get stuff thrown at you every single day that is below you, that is beneath you. An assistant, they can help with that. And the assistant can even help facilitate like getting some of those things to the right members of your team. This is ultimately an opportunity for you to drop the low-value stuff that you're doing to upskill other folks for whom those same tasks are actually an opportunity. Now, if you want to hire an EA in the Philippines, I'll give you the salary range, what this usually looks like. 1 to 3 years experience working with U.S. companies. They're usually going to come in between $1,100 and $1,200 a month. That is USD full-time. 3 to 5 years experience between $1,200 and $1,400 USD. And 5+ years between $1,400 and $1,600 USD. Buddy, they're out there, and they're good, and they make a difference. I got an assistant. I'm not ashamed to say it, and I think you should too. To learn more about TeamUp, check out the link down in the show notes. Today's episode is sponsored in part by Client Hub, the practice management system that delivers wow seasons year-round. Not busy seasons, seasons that will dazzle your clients for 2 reasons. 1, Client Hub is drop dead simple, man. If you're too tired of a practice management system that just feels like you got to have a PhD in learning something new, Client Hub, you hop in, the vibes are great. It just all makes sense. But 2, remember there's a second reason? Client Hub offers a game-changing client experience. That is, you can actually get clients to like collaborate with you and be helpful in the platform because the portal wasn't this like afterthought bolt-on. Now, very cool recent development in Client Hub. Magic Books Review. Twinkle sounds. So Client Hub syncs in the transactions from your QuickBooks file. You can run an AI analysis on it, like from inside of Client Hub. It'll highlight any potential issues. You can mark like on the balance sheet and the P&L, you mark each account one by one, whether or not it's been reviewed. But if you want to troubleshoot, it'll pull you straight back into QuickBooks. Like, so you don't have to learn like a whole new troubleshooting tool if you'd rather sort that stuff out in QuickBooks. Other cool stuff it'll identify automatically. Expense inconsistencies, purchases without a payee, purchases in parent accounts. Why can we not disable that in QuickBooks? Large transactions, new accounts, new vendors, new customers. It's Magic Books Review inside of Client Hub. I think you might like it. Learn more about Client Hub. Check out the link down in the show notes. Last one in this good enough category, QuickBooks Payroll Core. And this is the lowest level QuickBooks online payroll offering. The 2 higher tiers I had in my don't recommends because they don't add that much, or at least not enough to justify the added cost. Now, you want to talk about horror stories? Boy, do we have many of them about QuickBooks Online Payroll, right? The thing is, we talk about this a lot with like practice management systems, where wouldn't it be nice if all-in-one worked really, really well? The thing is, wouldn't it be really nice if my accounting ledger is here and my payroll could also be here as well? Like that's the biggest thing QuickBooks Online has working for it. But the payroll offering itself, like it's just not as good and not as fully featured as many other built from scratch payroll and HR platforms that do that job really well. But the reason it's on the good enough rating here is just the benefit of having all that in one place. And The strongest argument for this is probably very small, very simple payroll situations where you've got, just a couple employees and it's not a big deal. You're not doing any special gymnastics to get the reporting right. Though, man, you hear a lot of stories about the reporting getting messed up and state and local stuff not being handled correctly. Your mileage may vary. I can tell you, I did not run any payroll on QuickBooks online. And the couple that we tried to do, it was messy, but this was 3 or 4 years ago. But man, you still, in the wild, you see a lot of really scary things where it will like pull the wrong amount of money. And it's like, who do I talk about to even get this fixed? And you end up amending a bunch of quarterly reports, and that's just frustrating. Now, payroll's hard. Like, payroll is a thankless, loveless thing that's just exceptionally hard to do well. And there will never be any payroll solution, at least not in the near term, that someone won't have horror stories about. And that's just worth acknowledging and being super clear about. Like, it's just really high stakes. Getting support on, getting a notice from an agency, that sort of thing. Getting any sort of support from the software company and someone on the other side that knows how to actually get to the bottom of that. It's really hard, both because it's hard to build a software organization with people who can do that well, but then you layer on top of that, as we know, just how awful it is to work with the agency to resolve that. So you got kind of a double whammy of it's really hard for software companies to develop the skills in their people to do that well. But then when you add into that the fact that many agencies are difficult to work with, that just becomes an extremely frustrating experience. You've got bad agencies and then oftentimes bad support reps like running interference and making it even worse. So, there is no version of this that everyone will love and won't have problems, but there's still some that are better than the other. Other? Did I say other? Some are better than the other. So, here's my top 6 that tick various different types of boxes. Number 1 is ADP's refer and earn. And anecdotally, I'd actually be very interested to hear your experiences. There is no version of referring your payroll business out and it going perfect, it going swimmingly. So, I've never seen a version of this that is perfect. I can say I have heard the least problematic things about ADP refer and earn. And honestly, probably the hardest thing about these recommendations is what you end up hearing is one person's experience, and that's all they have. Where they'll be like, you see this probably the most with practice management systems, where it's like, we use this one and we don't like it, so it sucks. And you're like, okay, have you used the other 10 or 15 though? Because there's a good chance that it might suck the least. And so the hard thing is kind of rolling everything I'm hearing up and sort of weighing those different things. And oftentimes it comes down to like volume. Where are people having the most issues? If you want to get out of payroll work entirely, I think right now you have 2 options. 1, find a payroll practice where this is all they do. In fact, we've even talked with Matthew Patrick on this podcast before. He runs a payroll practice that partners with accounting firms. Go to someone like that and refer your work to them. Or if you want a more platform approach, I think ADP probably has the best platform for this right now, from what I've heard. And so they are the only one in the top recommendation category that is a full done-for-you service where you send those clients over. There's usually some sort of revenue sharing, but you're off the hook. Your client goes directly to the reps there to interact and get stuff figured out. Okay, number 2, Gusto. The number of years people called it Gusto. It's called Gusto. Gusto, honestly, they've had a rough 2 or 3 years. They had a pretty pristine image for a while, but they've had some struggles. That being said, it's still the closest thing to a complete solution for small businesses under 50 employees. And they're for years tried to push into the hundreds of employees range and tried to do that well. The reality is at like 100 employees and beyond, you're getting into where you're probably not buying health insurance from the marketplace. Your benefit requirements are getting a little bit more complex. You're doing your own group plans. And at that point, you want something that can handle all that. This has always kind of been where Gusto's sort of bumped up against the limit of that. And they try to push through that and they try to prioritize bringing in bigger companies. But to date, I still don't think that's the move. But for small business payroll, I think Gusto is still the best option that there is. But increasingly, this is a hot take. I don't know if it's a hot take. This is my take. It's actually the way that I run my business now. I think PEOs, for all of their downsides, have become way more relevant because we've got a couple pretty good PEO platforms right now, and because of the nature of distributed work. Like, what a pain it is for anyone who's like, oh yeah, we hire anyone anywhere. And you're like, oh really? Do you? Like, how much due diligence have you done into what it's actually going to entail to employ someone in San Diego or that stupid little place in Ohio or whatever it is. That's a lot of freaking work. But you know what handles that really nicely? A PEO. So PEO is like the easiest way to sidestep a lot of that headache. Not all of that headache, but having to like manage the payroll reporting for every single one of those little jurisdictions, that's a lot of freaking work across your entire client base. Ends up being a ton of back and forth with the agencies. And then they fire that employee after 2 weeks, right? Now, the big trade-off with PEOs is benefits can be limited and you don't have a ton of flexibility there. So if you're growing to 200 or 300 people where you want to do some more complicated customized benefit stuff, well, PEOs is kind of you take what you can get. And if you're comparing it to the marketplace, like health insurance stuff that you get out there, PEO is going to be totally fine. Like you're going to be able to get stuff that is just as good as that. But where people say PEO no longer becomes a fit is when they maybe want to get more advanced with the benefits that they do. And so today, my business, I run on a PEO. And we've got employees all over the country, and it's fine. Like it works fine. We really haven't had issues. PEOs themselves, you can have issues for sure, but we also are very intimately aware of the issues of having a team that's all over the place and how much of a headache that is from a compliance standpoint. So Gusto, it's not a PEO. That's just straight up rolling payroll for your small business. But in the PEO department, JustWorks, it's a very good option. It's one of my top recommendations. Not a perfect platform, but it was the first like super modern end-to-end PEO that came with kind of all the bells and whistles that you want. And if you're a first-time PEO user, you may get sticker shock because these are normally coming in between like $70 to $110 per employee per month. And if you're used to the pricing in a traditional just straight up payroll service, you're like, holy cow, that's outrageous. You just got to remember what all the PEO is handling for you. It's handling benefits admin, and like a platform like JustWorks does a bunch of other stuff too, like time tracking, like it's kind of your HR hub. And for me, that is a ransom that I will happily pay to not have to fuss with all the compliance. The other PEO solution that's gotten good, it's Rippling. Rippling, both their payroll offering and their PEO offering are in my top recommendations. Rippling is going to be overkill for, in my opinion, for small businesses with teams of 40 or less, unless you're doing like multi-entity, but multi-entity with a small number of employees like that, you're kind of cruising for a bruising anyways. But for like 40 employee and less companies, I don't think it's worth looking at Rippling. You go beyond that, and with Rippling, you lose some niceties and simplicities that like come with Gusto, but you add multi-entity support for one, but also a bunch of stuff around like IT management and a lot of things that actually go beyond payroll. So they've got a payroll option and a PEO option, which is great. So if like you're pushing past 100 employees, you got people all over the place, that's probably what I'm looking at for a PEO solution. It's not super cheap, and it's a big enough and complex enough platform to where like it takes a lot more work and learning than Gusto, which they've done a great job of simplifying. But beyond 50 people like Gusto, there's probably better options. To everything I'm saying here, I would actually love your experience with these things, good or bad. That goes a long ways. Last one I'm going to mention here in my top recommendations is OnPay. OnPay has a pretty good cloud-based payroll offering. I think it's maybe a step short of Gusto and Rippling. What OnPay does handle is more types of payroll. So if you got to do like farm payroll, 943s, H-2A laborers, they will do some stuff that Gusto will not. So if you got a bunch of more complex or unique types of payroll that Gusto doesn't support, check out OnPay. They have a much wider level of support in what is still a very good payroll platform. Rippling, Gusto, and JustWorks for their payroll solution. Sorry, not JustWorks. Rippling, Gusto, and OnPay. They all have a version of like built-in benefit management. And this is for like, if you're buying health insurance on the marketplace, it can like integrate into the platform, and employees can do like plan selection and all of that stuff inside of the same place where they go and they get their pay stubs. And it's magic when it works really well. Like it's really good. They've taken what is a really dumb and really manual payroll, like health insurance process where you're filling out forms and you get your like explanation of benefits. And it's just like, Jesus, this is a lot. They've taken all of that mess and put it into like an Amazon-like shopping experience where you see all of your different plan options, and it's clear as day, like so much more clear than an explanation of benefits, what the right option for you is. And so employees can go through that every year and like manage that stuff themselves, even come back and if there's like a qualifying event, they can manage all that stuff inside the platform. And when it works, it's amazing. When it doesn't, it is a freaking nightmare. It is rough because, similar to what we talked about with payroll resolution issues, you then have to worry about the person on the payroll software platform side who is purely like trying to reflect what the insurance company and the benefits provider is telling them. But now you've got like this weird triangular thing where it's like, do I go to the benefits provider, like the insurance company, or do I go to the software company who is presenting this thing to my employee that may be incorrect or problematic? We had situations where it was like, you have a person who's pregnant and like in the middle of things, and we can't get anybody to talk to us, as opposed to rolling your own benefits with like a local, insurance company who's going to be, what do they call it? The agent of record? Is that what it is? But then that person can like go to bat for you with the insurance company. To me, I had much more luck when there were problems working with an actual insurance company than through a platform where I got to get like a support rep and then they have to talk to the insurance company. And it's a hard thing. We started steering a bunch of clients to it and then had some bad experiences and didn't really know what to do because the ceiling of how good it can be is so high. It's so good. But then when it goes sideways, it can also be really, really bad because nobody will be accountable and like track down a solution themselves. I'm still mixed on whether I would actually use like the benefit integrations in these platforms. I will say, I've been out of the game for 2 years now. If you've tried it, like specifically in the last couple of years, I'd be interested to hear what your experience has been with integrated benefits. That's a lot of payroll stuff. Listen, more than I would like to talk about in a day. I'm going to go get some mouthwash. You have any other experiences to share about these platforms or even any payroll platforms that we're missing? Drop that stuff down below. I think the bigger question in accountingdom is, should we be selling payroll services still? Because it's very hard to make money on. If you want to explore that, we actually did an episode maybe 3 weeks back called like, should any accounting firms be selling payroll services still? But if you're looking at platforms, swipe my app database down in the show notes. It'll show you all the tools that we looked at here, as well as a whole bunch of different app categories besides payroll. You can kind of rinse your brain out after that one to find some great tech for your firm. And thanks for being here.